We can look at the size of organisms, for example, in terms of the size of their mass. Now, these are estimations that I've come up with, and I'm not sure that everything here is hydrated versus not hydrated mass, but this is a good ballpark. These are good ballpark figures for the approximate size of things. So the very smallest of things that arguably can be described as an organism is a viroid, which is basically a single-stranded RNA parasite of plant cells. These consist of only about 200 nucleotides. The smallest of viruses are about 100-fold bigger than these viroids. They contain more nucleic acid, and they also contain capsids, and this increases their size. That is, the proteins associated with the capsids are relatively large. Then we have a typical phage, a tailed phage. We're talking now about 10-fold larger than the smallest of the viruses. The pox virus is an example of a relatively large virus, certainly a large virus among those viruses that infect animals, and we're talking about 100-fold larger yet. And in fact, we have much larger viruses even than that infect protists. Small bacteria, nevertheless, are on the same order of magnitude size as the pox virus, and therefore we indeed do have viruses out there that are bigger than the smallest of the cellular organisms. A small bacterium is roughly 100-fold larger than that, and a red blood cell is 100-fold larger than that. The protists tend to be relatively large, compared to our own cells, but nevertheless, the smallest of protists are still on the order of about 10-fold larger in size than our own red blood cells, but on the order of 10-fold smaller in size than the average size of our cells. The largest of our cells is the egg, and this is about 100-fold bigger than the average size of a human cell. And a large protist is much, much, much larger than the human egg, on the order of about 0.1 grams. The largest bacterium, interestingly enough, that we know of is on the order of the same size as the largest of the protists. And at this point, we're talking about organisms that, in fact, are visible to the eye. They're not visible as too much more than just individual dots, but they nevertheless are reaching the point where they are on the dividing line between microscopic and macroscopic. Among eggs, the largest of the eggs that are known today are of the ostrich, and we're talking about a kilogram per egg. Ostrich eggs are pretty big. A Maine Coon cat is about 10 times bigger than that. Maine Coon cats can be in the range of 25 pounds or more. They are very large cats. A large human being is about 10 times larger than a Maine Coon cat. So we're starting to get to be pretty big right here. And the example of a large human being would be myself at roughly 100 kilograms. A large steer is roughly 10 times larger than that, where you're talking about for the largest ones, over 1,000 kilograms. A bull African elephant is 10-fold larger than that. Now we're talking on the order of 10,000 kilograms rather than 1,000 kilograms versus 100 kilograms for me, and 10 kilograms for a Maine Coon cat, and a kilogram for an ostrich egg. A blue whale is yet 10-fold larger than that. At this point, we're talking about 100,000 kilograms. And because when I put this list together, H2 Hummers were all the rage, this is about 20 H2 Hummers. By the way, the H2 Hummer, I'm convinced, is going to be the iconic vehicle of the aughts, of the 2000s, 2000 through 2010. Definitely an iconic shape, and really representing the excesses that were associated with that decade. The giant sequoia goes tenfold larger than the large blue whale. So now we're talking about 1,000,000 kilograms, or about 200 H2 hummers. And then finally, a grove of aspen trees is about tenfold larger. Aspen trees grow clonally. They grow from each other's roots. And therefore, a grove is essentially one organism. And now we're talking about 10 million kilograms of mass, or about 2,000 H2 hummers.